Welcome back. Here we are in the WPPI trade show, and we're here in the room doing the Icon Awards critiques. We'd like to thank B&H for supporting us and sponsoring this part of our program, and also thank Critiq. That's Critiq without a U or an E, who are part of what we're doing here with the critiques. You'll be able to see the Critiq app and go to the Icon Awards website. You'll be able to see what that's all about as well. But I'm here with two amazing photographers, from Florida. We have Joseph Stefanchik and we have Candice KausHagen. I got them both right, didn't I? And we're going to be looking at the wedding party, family and friends, and wedding photojournalism categories. And what we've done here today is we're looking at the images that didn't make an award or didn't get to an 80 or above. So before today, we had the finals judging, and both Candice and Joseph were part of those panels where we looked at the finalists and made the final judgments on the winners, which are announced at the awards night. Today and the next couple of days here at the trade show, what we're doing is we're looking at the images that didn't make it and asking Joseph and Candice what can be done to improve these images, what can be done to make them better. Guys, do you want to just say a quick hello to everybody? The camera's over there. Just let them know who you are and where you're from.
Hi, I'm Candice KausHagen. A portrait photographer primarily, but also I've been a wedding photographer since the early 2000s. So we live very close to the beach, and most of our work is actually on the coast.
Joseph?
Yeah, good morning. I'm Joseph Victor Stefanchik. Mainly do commercial and advertising work right now, but I've done over 600 weddings around the globe, and I now live down on the Gulf of Mexico in Florida with Candice.
So people don't know this, but a lot of people don't. Do you two know each other?
Yeah, we have a beautiful daughter together, a really great studio, a nice house.
I feel like
yes, we know each other very well.
What I love to see when couples come together to do critiquing is what people don't realise is that as photographers and artists and creatives, they don't always agree. So this should be a bit of fun. Let's get into it. Let's look at the first image. So we'll get that first one up on the screen, and you'll be able to see it in a moment. And again, as I said, this is the category we're looking at is wedding party. So wedding party, family and friends is the first one. So over to you guys.
Yeah, so immediately there's a really nice circular motion going on here. So we have arms, and then we have one hand in the middle. And what I would encourage everyone to do is to find a friend, or even when you think you're done processing the image, to just like walk away, go get some water, go for a walk, and then come back and look at it again, because there are highlights all over the image that are competing for your attention here at the center of the frame. So I know you guys can't see me pointing, but a lot of the corners just need to come down. The reflection in the mirror, there's a bokeh that needs some highlight control. But overall, I think even with a little bit of a stronger vignette, we would just get to that hand a little bit quicker.
Candice?
So I think this is a really beautiful image. This is something that's pretty common that we find on a wedding day. And I think with the items that Joseph mentioned, the highlight control, it will eventually print very nicely. But at the end of the day, it's kind of a perspective that we see often. So to kind of bring it up to an award level, you're probably going to want to see if you can find a unique way to do this that hasn't been seen before. And that will really kind of give it a little extra push. Whether that's a different angle or a different use of the highlight, just some small changes that will make it a little bit more unique.
I might just add, go on, Joseph, you go.
Yeah, just one more quick comment. So when you're in a situation like this, you want to shoot until your elbows give out. So you get in there, you get composed, you find what you like, and you constant little shifts, left, right, lower. And then occasionally a little gem or a diamond might pop up in the reflection of the mirror. But you always shoot through the moment until all those hands leave the frame. Because the last thing you want to do is stand up, walk away, and then, oh my gosh, there was the moment.
Missed it. I'm just going to add, the top right of this frame, we see a little bit of extra highlight coming in as the back of the dress comes in. How do you feel about a little bit of a crop, bring it in, and just really focus in on that middle section?
I agree. I think a little bit of a crop from the top right, would definitely help just equalize the top two sides. A little less distracting.
All right, let's have a look at another one. We'll move to the next one.
So, this is a really sweet moment between I don't know and I don't care. It's just a really nice, quiet moment. The way the hands are embracing, and so the moment was there. And I think just technically, there's some things that can be improved on that would, again, bring it higher and hopefully make it to a finalist in the Icon Awards. So, number one, the flash seems very harsh for the moment. In other words, almost feels a little bit on camera, feels a little bit too punchy. But again, as we talked about in the previous image, we just need some highlight control and some shadow control.
I'd like to add that I think the moment here was actually right in their faces and in their faces only. So a lot tighter crop, actually, whether that be in camera or after the fact, come all the way into his head from the top, come all the way into her head from the side. Real tight to where your eye can go in a circle from his face to her face to their hands and back around again.
Yeah, great comments, guys. Great comments. I was just thinking that also we have to be aware too. We're looking at screens, and some screens will show a little more detail in blacks and others won't. So if you're looking at images for competition, and particularly if you're looking for images going to print, it's important to remember that you've got to start, you've got your digital image there. Now you've got to almost start again in terms of finish and presentation and make sure the print has the detail where you need it, etc. Because it doesn't always translate across. So it's another step to keep in mind when you've got images like this that do have heavy blacks and things like that. All right, let's have a look at another one.
This is really cool. This is a unique presentation. Like I was talking about earlier, being able to do something that we have to do at every wedding, but do it in a different way. So this is something that really just with some treatment to the highlights, some of the shirt collar on the guy on the left is a little too high. And then we probably could have lost the boutonniere that's on the right side. It's also a little distracting. Do you have anything to say about the skin tones? I feel like.
Yeah, not so much about the skin tones, but like we live in a world where we go home to TVs that are this ratio. So I think it's okay to think outside the norm and think outside of rules on how images need to be presented. I see this as like 16:9 or even 16:6, something very cinematic right through there. There's information on the top and the bottom of the frame that really don't add too much to it, but all these guys' faces here are really cool right through here, really tight. You want to speak to the skin tones?
Yeah, so there's some variation in the skin tones. I'm not sure if it happened in post, but the guy in the center seems really flat compared to the other two. So if we could just kind of equalize so that as you go across from, each forehead, for example, you don't hit one that feels really flat. I think that would just kind of help keep your eye going in the right direction.
So you're looking at this and you can see the guy at the back has a harder light on him than the guys at the front, which
right.
is kind of playing around with the depth, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. How do you feel about the bright flower on the right on the edge of frame, like the edge tension there?
I think we could have lost it. I don't think it's adding anything.
You either got to have it all in there or take it out.
Right.
So also, when you get rid of the boutonniere, you also get rid of the white highlight in the third groomsman or whoever that might be on the left. That crop line will come right through there and get rid of that there at the bottom.
Yeah. Good comments, guys. Excellent. Let's have a look at another one.
Yes, this is a really fun moment. When your images initially result in a reaction from the viewer, you've succeeded. So there's lots of nice moments going on here, left to right. But I think, again, things that will take it to an award-winning image is just file control. When I say file control, I mean from the initial capture, a really good, solid, raw file. I feel like there are so many different layers of contrast and highlights throughout the frame that I'm not too sure where to look. So I would suggest just flattening the image out, really bring the contrast sliders back down, and then look at it all. And then you can decide, okay, where do I want to put your eye? So we could have this whole row here could actually all have that same contrast level versus a highlight here, a very bright highlight here, too bright.
Sorry, Joseph, when you're saying here and here, because people can't see,
maybe just
describe.
I'm sorry, you can't see where I'm pointing.
See which ones you're pointing.
So for all the subjects, I think if the contrast was even to start with, nice and flat, You could then do global adjustments to each section of the frame. So they were very even. There's just too many differences between each of the subjects and their contrast values.
He pretty much covered everything I had. I mean, other than that, I think an award is here.
Yes.
I mean, it's definitely there. It's really just a post-processing issue as far as why it didn't make it into award level.
Yep.
And, you know, I'm not often a fan of cropping the individuals out. I mean, the woman in the background does add something to it.
Which woman in which?
The woman to the far left of the frame.
Yep.
It's nice that she's there and the family probably appreciate it. But as far as impact, believe it or not, if we were to crop her out, that veil would lead us into the bride laughing. I don't know if she adds anything.
Yeah, I agree with you. Actually, I was looking at that and I thought it feels a bit weird having just 4 people in the image. The odd number seems to balance it, but the lady on the rear left doesn't quite match the ambience or the personality of the image. And then I thought, what happens if you crop in and, I mean, the bride looks fantastic. I might be going off too far, but there's even a great image with just the gentleman with the veil and the lady behind him. And you come in there, you can see the veil, so you're kind of getting the insinuation of the bride. But there's a wonderful moment there where he's pulling the face and the lady behind him. So sometimes what I'm saying is, sometimes with your images, taking out a little bit can actually help solidify the highlight of the image or the best parts of the image and leave us with the cream, but take out all the stuff that's not adding, but not distracting. Let's have a look at another one.
Well, this is a fun moment. There's a lot going on here. I'm still kind of digesting all the different faces. A great job of, capturing motion. Just got enough motion in his feet for us to know that, he's really moving. I think it's the bride in the background. She looks great. We've kind of got a guy in the middle here on his cell phone, and you can't help that these days. It's really hard to shoot at a reception and not have half the people hanging out on their phones. So that's a little challenging. And then the little boy in the back, he adds something, but I feel like this guy didn't do this just once. He probably did it 100 times because there's always that guy at the reception who wants all the attention. And I'm just wondering if continuing to shoot through this, there might not have been another moment that came through with either less people in the frame or some of these subjects adding a little bit more to the story.
So this is another instance where I think there's just too many people, and don't be afraid to crop the image. I think there's a square here. I think if we were to crop it just past the gentleman with the cell phone and come into this square, get rid of the highlights up there in the track above, the little boy could actually be the point of entry. We come back to the dancer, and we come back to, if this is the bride, I'm not too sure, whoever the woman is in the far right. But I still feel like this boils back down again to file control, highlight control, contrast control, because that chair could be brought down more. The highlight's nice and even. I see a really nice square here, and I see a really nice photo.
You could almost bring the attention to the little boy at the back. His expressions, it's hard to see where the expression could carry it, but with your square crop and darkening down the guy at the front, so he's not so prominent with that shoulder and that side of the face, that sort of heavy light or quite strong light on the face, and bring it back to the expressions of the bride or the girl on the left and the little boy. So yeah, there's some variations in that. I think it's like you said, Candice, on the previous image. Often there's an award in there, and part of the issue is to find out where do I crop this to find that award, and what can I take out to make it stronger. All right, let's move on to another one.
This is a great moment. You're in the right place, the right time. It's lighting works for this situation. I think where we're kind of falling flat from award status is I'm not really sure what the story is. The two guys look really happy, and then she looks sad, and I'm not sure why this is happening. I feel like we're missing something. I don't know if there was something somewhere else just outside the frame that would tell us more, but it's just missing a little something.
So for me, it's just lacking contrast from a presentation standpoint. I feel like if we focused in on the two gentlemen in this kiss and darkened everything around it so that the reaction became secondary. We could then kind of control the narrative a little bit by forcing us into this happy kiss and then a trailing secondary moment that was kind of like an accessory or an adding character to the story. And this is one of those rare instances where I feel like it might be too tight. Maybe a little breathing room on left or right, or just a little slightly wider lens selection would help us tell a little bit more of the story.
Candice? Oh, sorry. I thought you good?
I covered, yeah.
Again, it's one of those images when you look at it and you think, have I got too much in there or have I not got enough? Excuse me. How hard is it, guys, to, when you're going through looking at images, to really be able to isolate those images that are standout? What are some of the key components of an image that you think, that's an outstanding image, that works in so many ways, versus the run-of-the-mill, the average shot? Because we all go out there, we take our 500 shots or whatever, and we'll look at them, and 300-400 of them are good professional shots. But we're looking for something that stands out. How do you two find those ones?
I typically just have a couple of points that I like to cover. I want to make sure that a certain number of things exist. One, for me, is always going to be originality. Have I seen this before? Whether that be in my own work or someone else's, have I seen this before? If I've seen it before, I'm probably not going to be too quick to push it into, oh yeah, this is really great. So originality is always number one for me. Number two is usually going to be story. Can I tell a story here? Can I piece it together without having to explain to someone what's happening? And then the last one for me is usually going to be lighting. Does the lighting add to this? Does it make it unique? Does it help tell the story? That's usually how I'll kind of go through and ask myself whether or not I've got a good one.
What about you, Joseph?
Yeah, so we shoot a couple more than 500. Just like 500 an hour. But you generally know, like in your gut, when you got it, and hopefully by being really prepared and really being a master of your craft and really being ready when these things happen, when we shot film, it was like you couldn't wait till Tuesday. Like, did I get it? And now it's like instant gratification. So I think impact rules, number one. If it happens to be a moment, that's even better. But personally, first and foremost, when you're looking through the wedding, like your client and your bank account are number one. The awards are great, but these are what feeds you, keeps a roof on your house. So don't beat yourself up if you go through an entire wedding where there's not one single zinger, because it does happen. I guarantee you it happens. A lot of it plays off with the relationship that you have with your couple. If your couple are bold and outgoing and very affectionate, those moments are going to just drop from the sky.
Yeah.
If you're a very conservative, very upscale, a little snooty, it's probably the right word, there may be no affection at all that day.
Yeah.
They may kiss at an altar or on the beach or wherever it might be. So you have to be very, very aware of where you are, but you kind of have to ground yourself too and not set yourself up hoping. Don't get me wrong, we go into each of these thinking we're going to do something great. Today's the day we're going to get it. And at the end of the night, I'm like, did you get anything? I'm like, I got a cool portrait.
But isn't that really the secret? That's the name of the game, is you've got to go out and deliver a standard of work and then hope that you can find those little cherries, those little gems that pop up amongst it, which keeps us coming back. Do you go fishing at all?
No, I don't have time for. I don't have the patience for fishing.
Well, if you've ever gone fishing, you probably know. Well, you know the theory that people go out fishing, and what keeps them coming back is just on the chance that and every now and then they're just about starting to lose interest. They catch the big one, and it's like
a slot machine.
There you go, same thing, same thing. All right, let's have a look at another one. That's good stuff.
Wow, I love the scene. I love the colors here. It's got this kind of peach tonality to it, which works really well with the wardrobe that, this couple's chosen for, their bridal party. They're dressed really well, styled to fit the room. To bring this up to an award level, there's a couple things that I notice, and it may have been a logistical issue, but the couple on the far right is a little too far forward. It's making them unnaturally out of proportion with the rest of the the bridal party. And then the other thing that I'm noticing is it's just kind of flat in terms of post-production, in terms of lighting. They just kind of, they're just a little flat. There's really nothing super dynamic about the lighting or...
It's almost overlit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. How can we address that, Joseph?
So, kudos to the author for just organizing this.
Yeah.
It's hard to do, I don't know if we have two grooms here or whatever, but I do like that there's that one super tall guy in the middle. He's kind of the anchor. And I think when you're processing these images, you have to think about what the point of entry is going to be and what you want the viewer to see. So I might have started and said, okay, what values or what tone or what contrast do I want on him? He's obviously the tallest person in the scene. Our eye is going to navigate to him in a white or ivory suit. So start there. And I think we just push the limits on how dark we can get all the way around. The mirror on the right is nice, but it's not enough. So I wouldn't object to coming down. I feel like we have a flash firing somewhere that's throwing a soft shadow into the ceiling, which is why it's bright. That could be just daylight in a dark area, but the ceiling just is too bright. So again, it competes with these whites. Again, with the rug, pull the rug out. Take a picture so you know where the rug went. But I'm trying to see how cool this would be if you just pulled that rug out. It looks like it ends, and don't get me wrong, if it's under a 3,000-pound couch, don't move it. But the two whites at the top and the bottom of the frame fight for attention when there's all these beautiful people here in the middle.
Good comments. What about the posing? Always posing large groups like this, it can be difficult.
Yeah, I mean, the posing here is pretty well done. I see some little issues with hands and feet. If we're starting on the left side of the frame, the gentleman that is sitting on the side of the chair, I would kind of ask him to bring his fingers together and relax his hands a little bit more. The splayed fingers is a little distracting on him. If we keep moving to the right, the bouquet being held by the two women in the white dresses on the left side, have them bring those down a little bit. Their heads are a little too close to the flowers. So it's covering up their chests, which kind of distracts from their faces. So I would have them lower those. I might have even had one just drop it completely to the side, just to give a little bit of variation. And then as you keep moving, the other gentleman sitting in the chair as well, same thing. Have him bring his fingers together and turn his hand a little bit more to the side, maybe rest his wrist on his knee. And then watch for the broken ankle foot going on down on the bottom.
Yeah, it's so dealing with so many people in a shot in a room that's already busy.
Right.
And particularly, the other thing I was just going to get you to address, what are some of the things they could do to take into account that the color tones of the clothing is quite similar to the color tones in the room? How do you separate them? What's another way to do that?
I mean, personally, I'm a fan of when that happens. I think it's...
But how do you separate them out of a busy environment? Yeah, I agree with you.
It's usually going to be lighting. Yeah, just the lighting has to be adjusted to where maybe the room doesn't have to be as bright as it is.
Yeah.
If they're a little bit brighter than the room, that's going to help.
So using tone to sort of separate them out that way. Yeah. No, I agree with you. You definitely... There's a complementary palette in terms of the people and what they're wearing and the background. But
I'm guessing that was very intentional.
It works for you and it works against you at the same time.
Yeah.
All right, let's have a look at another one.
These are always fun to shoot. There's a really nice moment that's happening right now. And I think, we've talked about it before, but we'll talk again. We just need to get better control of the highlights or decide what do you want the viewer to see first. Again, this is going to benefit from a crop off the right side of the camera. There's just not enough going on to that side. Maybe there's one little head there just behind the gentleman on the right holding the chair where her chin is up. I might crop to that line right there. As well as on the left, I like the way this arm is pointing in because it mimics the gentleman on the chair. So I think if we came even tighter on that arm would actually push us right into the frame. But as far as like the overall processing, I think, better control of whites. And all that means is to very carefully make things a little more gray. Don't burn them down. Don't make them be non-existent. And when we get to the top of the frame too, I actually don't mind those chandeliers because the flash overpowered that scene, so they're not as distracting as the lower ones in the back of the frame. Again, with a crop from the left and the right, you will actually get to the other little moments that are happening in the middle of the frame as well. And I don't want to talk too much, so Candice.
I mean, again, this is one of those things. If you shoot a lot of Jewish weddings, I'm assuming it's a Jewish wedding, and this is Hora. You're gonna get this kind of every time. So, how can we fish a little bit more out of it? And one thing I might have, just because I'm a little sensitive to this, being from the South and being a little bit more conservative, I might have stepped to the side a little bit so that I was always shooting from the bride's side instead of right up her dress. Being her dress is so bright and that little pocket is so dark between her legs, it's just very distracting. Your eye keeps wanting to go there, and you just kind of think crotch shot.
Yeah.
And just one more comment. So when Candice and I shoot these situations together, I shoot long, standing on a chair. I create a lot of compression in a different angle. She often kicks my ass with the wide shot. That's close because it just feels better. So if you are working with another photographer, maybe one of you swings to the fences. One goes to the high risk with possible reward, and somebody else just plays it a little safe to get a shot similar to this.
Yeah, no, good comments. And I like the way that you brought in the fact that if you've got a second shooter, how you can step into these candid moments and try to get the best out of it from both worlds. We'll do one more, guys, if you got
Sure.
just go to this one. Again, big party in a room.
Wow, this has really good impact. I mean, this room is palatial. It's really unique. I like how it's got lights. Obviously, it looks like maybe built into the top of the windows, or it's seeping in through the top, which kind of leads us all the way down. The bride is obviously the center of attention here and has been lit that way. Unfortunately, I think that's been at the expense of some of the other people. Lighting on the faces just isn't consistent all the way across. So why don't you take that over from here?
So generally, people go to weddings because they want to go or they were told to go. So in a situation like this, I think you have to rally the troops. You have to tell them all, let's be excited. I know this is going to take a little bit of time, but think about the bride and groom. Your cooperation will be amazing. I just feel like some people are invested and some people aren't. And you're there because this couple loves you. They hired you because they want you to be there, because of your style, because of your technique. Again, this is a beautiful scene going across here. I just think, it is a single capture. That's great. I do think the left side of the frame just feels like it needs a little more light on each of the subjects. And then when we get into the nitty gritty, these are the things that take it to the next level and make it an award-winning image. And there's almost a near merger between the groom and the bride's right hand on the top of the chair. I do see that she's doing somewhat of a fairy tale pose with her hand up. But as a viewer, I may not know what her left hand is doing. She's holding her hand up, I think. And then you kind of have to decide, where is everyone going to look? Let's all get on the same page. Are we all going to look at the bride? Are we all going to look at the groom? That way it just becomes a little more cohesive.
I mean, I think obviously the photographer intended for everyone to have this kind of serious expression, but going back to what you were saying, some seem a little bit more invested in that than others. Yeah. So it may not, with this size of a group in this type of a situation, I hope maybe there was also one where everyone had just kind of a soft smile. I think that's a little bit easier for people to do in this situation.
And I'm not trying to discredit the photographer. I mean, you kicked ass. You did the best you could do in this situation. One thing to do is, before you think you're done, is just make them all laugh. And make them laugh to the point where you can, if you can't hear the laugh, it's not believable. And that might have just relaxed everybody. And then reset. Okay, serious, not angry, content.
Yeah. I was just going to point out, the bride's hand is actually pointing to camera, yeah. Excuse me. But also, can you address the distortion issues using the wide-angle lens?
Yeah, so, when we get into tight spaces, we often have to use the tools that we have, and I think if the photographer could back up 50 feet, they probably would have and shot it at, say, 50 instead of 35 or what wider this might be. I'm also, a fan of, you get your safe shot, you get your big wide shot, so you show how beautiful this room is. But again, this could be a ridiculous print that's 5 inches high. We crop it right off the top. That way we get into each and every. She's going to completely disagree with me. But we have to remember we've already captured that one big wide shot. We already have that if we want it for the album or whatever. But then you got to get in there and really crop off the top and bottom. And that will help alleviate some of the distortion that you're seeing.
Just to finish off, maybe just a quick comment on you've got a big group and you said get them all to laugh. So each of you just give us an answer to the question. Like if you've got a group this size and you've got to get them to laugh, what's your secret? Candice?
There's no secret.
What do you do?
You just tell them to laugh no matter how ridiculous it seems. If you just kind of get on their side and say, hey, I know we all think this is stupid, but let's do it anyway.
There you go.
They'll usually get on board.
There you go.
There's no trick. There's no
That's a
magic
trick.
word.
That's one way to do it. What about you, Joseph?
I always tell them if I can't hear you laughing, I don't believe it. And there'll be a moment where they over-exaggerate and they do it too big, but if you're shooting through it,
On the downside.
they will come back down and it will be that normal smile.
And then they think about what they just did and how stupid it was, and then they tend to have a genuine, happy look on their face, yeah.
Yes, but if you can hear them laughing, they're generally doing the right thing.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. That's great. Look, that's it for that section. Candice and Joseph, thanks so much for joining us and sharing some of your wisdom and a few little stories along the way. We really appreciate it. We're going to be back in a short while, but I do want to thank B&H who got behind and sponsored what we're doing here as well. And also I'd like to thank Critiq, that's without a U or an E, who've been part of what we're doing here as well and got behind the program. Don't forget, there's an Icon Awards book that you can get hold of with some amazing images, be very inspirational, allow you to have a look. And if you get the chance, make sure you enter. That'll also give you an opportunity to be in the book. And you may even want to have a look around. Some great T-shirts out there as well that you can see a few people walking around with here, or back home you might already have one and be sitting in your lounge room wearing that shirt as we speak. We're going to be back shortly. When we come back, we'll be coming back with Couple Together Non-Wedding Day and Bride or Groom Alone Non-Wedding Day. I'll be joined by Vanessa Joy and Sanjay Jogia. So we'll take a break now. We'll see you very soon.